Conor McGregor has done it all. What can you say about the guy? He follows the laws of attraction. He visualizes his goals. He can remember sitting in traffic in Ireland, visualizing that he would be the champ. One of the unique things about him is that he is obsessed. And are you obsessed anywhere within your business? Conor is insane to his craft. He always said he just needed one shot. Just put him in the ring and he would come out on top. He doesn't sleep on a win or he'll wake up with a loss. Too much champagne, too much partying, and you're not going to win the next time. We've all done it in business, but Conor continues to work his butt off and he's been great inspiration to all of us. And that's probably exactly why you're here on this video. Conor McGregor steps on the scale for UFC 257 and does his trademark flex and scream. He soaks in the moment by looking up to the sky, pictures himself just like he was as a boy, pretending he was going to be a soccer player or a football player in Ireland. He's on the big stage now, and his next opponent happens to be Dustin Poirier. 6.5 years ago, after their weigh-in, there was tons of pushing and shoving. But this time it was all smiles, and Poirier shook his hand and gave him his Louisiana hot sauce. The two smiled and he put his arms around him, and we're in for a good fight. But who is this Conor McGregor? Remember the old one that would be throwing water bottles at people, punching people, throwing dollies at buses? You know, the one that always had a chip on his shoulder every time he'd be going into a fight. And this results when you are at peace with yourself, and we're going to see one of the best Conor McGregors we've ever seen inside the octagon. But how did he even get to this point? He was a man that was collecting food stamps and welfare, and he fought his way all the way up to the UFC. He debuted in the UFC in 2013 and barely had a pot to piss in, no money. He wanted to buy his flashy cars, but he just wasn't there just yet. But of course the guy had to predict that he would be the champion, and kind of like Babe Ruth, he would actually call the shots. He would predict how the fights would end. Opponent after opponent, he kept taking them all down until he had the featherweight title. But of course that wasn't good enough. He had to hold 2 titles in 2 separate divisions. So now what do? Of course you challenge Floyd Mayweather to a boxing match and bank $30 million. He had reached the top, but then he didn't even know what he was actually fighting for. After that, there was a lot of arrests and controversies and the shameful display at UFC 229. After all that chaos, he's doing what he does best, and he's reflecting on the situation. So for UFC 257, we will see a different Conor McGregor, a more poised Conor McGregor. I wonder if Poirier wonders even what to make of this Conor McGregor. But you gotta remember one thing. Conor McGregor is a master psychologist. You can win a war without firing a bullet if you use psychological operations, and Conor McGregor is the master of this in the ring. So almost to throw off his opponent, he just promised he would win. For so long he needed a chip on his shoulder, but he's at peace with himself now and he's just ready to fight and win. He's reached the top of the mountain. Who did he find up there? Himself. But he didn't go falling back down the mountain. He's still at the very top and he's looking towards legacy. All the belts, all the cars, all the fame, that comes and goes, but what he's really working on is those highlight reels, those movie clips that he wants to be able to show his son in the future of how great of a fighter he was. He's an insanely driven person and he's so passionate about his craft and he gives it his all at all times. It's absolutely inspiring. One of the tips he picked up was actually from LeBron James, and he found out LeBron James was spending millions on LeBron James, where Conor McGregor was spending 0 on himself. Sure, Conor would get a team together before a fight to train, but LeBron James was constantly spending money on his body, on his mind. Conor was just out there buying suits, and he determined that he needs to spend more time on his personal health, and that's going to afford him the legacy in this sport. And to him, he feels like he's only started. What does he want to do next? He wants to conquer it all again. If he did it once, he can do it twice. And with saying all this, he has found his purpose. It is his legacy. And as a businessman myself, I've found so much lessons in him. And if you guys have found any lessons in Conor McGregor, if you guys could hit the like button on this video, it would help me out immensely. Obviously, many of you guys are not fighters, but if you are in the business world, take some of these lessons and use them towards creating wealth. Conor McGregor always wanted to be in the ring of UFC. He visualized it. If you want to get a watch, make that a sales goal. Start talking about the watch. Talk about it every day, and you're gonna find the watch on your wrist. Put those goals out there in the world, and then just go and do them. I've done it personally myself. I wanted this Omega Seamaster. I talked about it, and then I was able to get it. And just remember, guys, it starts today.